The Aafia Siddiqui case is something that I'll never let go on. She's the most wronged woman on the planet. This is a real miscarriage of justice, and it doesn't matter which side or any side that you're on, she really has been wronged. If you believed the Mickey Mouse court trial in New York in the shadow of the crumbling Twin Towers, if you listened to the trial, the prosecution would have told you that this woman leapt out in her prison cell and took a gun from an American soldier that he'd put down. Now, I have spoken to some redneck Trump supporters who are ex-military, and they have no love for Muslims. And I have told them the Aafia Siddiqui case, and they have said, without exception, it would never happen. It would never happen. An American soldier would never, ever, ever put down his weapon unless he was going to clean it or reload it, with neither of which applied in the Aafia case. And they said that their training is such that it just wouldn't happen. And I said, well, why did 8 soldiers go into court and say that it happened? And they said, well, it's obviously American intelligence pushing them. It really is a miscarriage of justice. There was no gunshot residue on her hands or on her clothes. And she was the one who was shot. You know, it was, I feel very sad. And she got 86 years for attempting to shoot American soldiers. And I spoke to independent eyewitnesses, and they verified that this did not happen the way the Americans said it did. And yet none of the witnesses that I handed over to even the defence team, none of them brought them in as witnesses. It was a stitch-up, an absolute stitch-up from start to finish. The trouble with Pakistan is you get 5 people in a room and you'll get 7 different stories. And the wildest conspiracy theories in the world come from Pakistan. And unfortunately, their aggressive neighbours in India take full advantage of this, and you'll just never get to the truth. But having said that, you know, Pakistan is a great country. The people are amazing. They've got such a can-do attitude. The cuisine is fabulous. 60% of the GDP is spent on the military and about 6% spent on education. I would reverse that, lessen the role of the military and open up to tourism. That country has K2. It's got the greatest mountains, the greatest lakes, the greatest walks, fantastic, stunning beaches. Just one, it's got everything, absolutely everything, and the people are so hospitable. Whether you're in a 5-star hotel where you expect good service, or if you're in a humble little guest house, the service is the same. People are tremendous. Love the country. Hate the way it's been demonised. You know, every time the media depicts Pakistan, it's a group of salivating, crazy, bearded men burning flags and shouting, coming out of the mosque on Fridays. And it's nothing like that. I love Pakistan. You know, sometimes I call it my second home. Corruption is rife in Pakistan. And this is why I fear for Imran Khan's leadership. I've met him a few times. I think he's a brilliant leader. He's a man of integrity. He can't be bought. He doesn't do corruption. And this is why a lot of people don't like him, because he's difficult to deal with. I hope he turns Pakistan round. If anybody can, he can. Pakistan has had enough of the privileged elite dynasties, and I think it's about time that, you know, the people just give Imran the chance to do what he wants to do. And you know, Pakistan is a sleeping giant in Asia. I'm very optimistic. He can put Pakistan right on the map and turn it into a great tourist destination and turn the industry round. And, you know, Pakistan's greatest strength are the people. So lovely, lovely place. And I think that if America isn't careful, Pakistan will find that the likes of China and Russia provide better friendships. Kashmir, again, it's a problem created by the Brits, much in the same way as the English created a similar problem with Palestine. People in Kashmir must be given the right to self-determination. And it is a complex situation, because you've got the Indian side of Kashmir where we're told, oh no, they want to remain under India. Then you've got the Pakistan side, no, they want to remain under the control of Pakistan. And really, we're not going to find out exactly what the Kashmiris want until they are allowed to have a referendum. They deserve self-determination. Let the people decide. Of course, at the moment, India is changing the demographics. So all of this manipulation and distortion, you know, it's bordering on war crimes when you start to ethnically mask areas. And the world needs to turn round. You can tell this is unrehearsed. This is my grandfather clock banging away there. But Kashmir, it's sandwiched there between three nuclear powers, China, Pakistan and India. To the UN, I would say, for God's sake, sort it out. It cannot remain like this running sore between the three nuclear powers. I was gobsmacked. I had done some work with a team of South African lawyers who I personally think should have been nominated from an NGO called Protect the Rohingya. And we formed and set up an electronic database documenting war crimes, so that under the law of universal jurisdiction, if a war criminal goes into a country, they can be arrested. And where's the evidence? Here it is. It's all electronically filed and stored. And that was quite harrowing, listening to what had happened to the Rohingya people at the hands of the Tatmadaw, this military in former Burma. It was shocking. And then I was also involved in documenting the atrocities that had happened in the prisons run by Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president. And he can never, ever be part of the solution for Syria. Never. The man is a brute. And the men under him who raped 7,000 women on an industrial scale, and this is how sick this whole thing was. Those Syrian men had to take Viagra to sustain an erection so they could go out on this mass raping spree in the prisons. And to the wives of the men who are running the prisons, I wouldn't sleep with your husband because God knows what he's going to bring home. And you're basically sleeping with a war criminal. You know, these women must know what these men have been up to. And the detail that I was given, it was so shocking. It had a terrible impact on me. And I feel terrible saying this, but I had to go and be treated for PTSD. And I was just listening to the stories. So can you imagine the real effect that it had on the women that I interviewed I couldn't process it in my own mind, and I was just listening to what they were saying. And you know, I said before, I've been through the killing fields right across North Africa, right across the Middle East and Asia, and these two occasions, the Rohingya and the Syrian women, I couldn't process the atrocities that had been meted out onto them. We broke the siege of Gaza by sea. Now, some people think that the siege of Gaza is just a few years old. We sailed into the port in Gaza, and we were the first boat to have sailed in 41, 42 years. And it happened 12 years ago while I'm talking to you now. It was an incredible experience. I thought the Israelis were going to blow us out of the water. And once I got over the shock of that, it was an amazing feat by a group of more than 40 peace activists from about 30 different countries coming together, risking their lives to break the siege of Gaza, to draw world attention onto this little place in the Mediterranean Sea. See, I think Gaza is a European issue. And just down the water, you've got the Greek fishermen, the Turkish fishermen, you've got the Spanish fishermen, people right round the Mediterranean rim fishing away, and then you've got this little black spot, Gaza. And the fishermen are afraid to leave the port. They're shot at, they're used as target practice. Kids can't even play on the beach, play football, without missiles coming from Israeli gunboats. It's shocking. And it's all on the Mediterranean rim. And as I say, I think that that's more of an issue. I think it should be made an issue for Europe. How did it happen? I was in California giving a talk about my experiences. I was the first journalist into Jenin. And then somebody invited me, said, would you like to go to Gaza, and would you like to come? And that's how, you know, I was invited onto the boat. We created a lot of public awareness, and there were boats that went in after us, but then of course there was the disgraceful war crime, the Mavi Marmor incident. Never satisfied, but I'm not unhappy. You know, I want to do more. I want to uncover more. And it's getting increasingly difficult for me now to travel into other people's countries, because they don't want me digging around and ferreting around in their backyard. So, gosh, if you can hear the call to prayer, that's an azan, or the call to prayer, an electronic one, to remind me when it's time to pray, just in case you think, why is the azan being called in the Scottish borders? How do you take criticism? On the chin. Most of the criticism comes from people whose opinion I don't care about anyway. Holding a pen or camera demands for a great responsibility. You criticise Britain bluntly. Do you get a negative reaction? Oh, my mother thinks I'm a traitor. Of course I criticise Britain. I live here. I love the UK. I've chosen to live in Scotland in the hope that we get independence soon, so that we can cut ourselves free from the Westminster government, which I think is a very corrupt government. But yes, I am critical of Britain. But I carry a British passport. I'm a British citizen. You know, our biggest critics are ourselves. It's my duty to hold politicians to account, just as it's your duty to hold politicians to account where you live. But yes, I do get a hostile reaction. You know what I would do? I would put women in charge. Men talk about it, women do it, and you look at the places in the world where there are where there are women leaders. Take COVID, for instance. New Zealand, Singapore, South Korea, Scotland have all done incredibly well, and I think a lot of it is down to the fact that we have gender balanced governments and female leaders. Women are less inclined to go to war. I just really go back to wanting a feminist foreign policy. Let's spend our money on nurseries and education instead of weapons and bombs and missiles. We can achieve so much more in our schools and for the next generation. So I think that, you know, that is something that that we should think about. I wish you the best of luck. I loved your questions. I've seen your YouTube and you're amazing. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Salam alaikum. Go in peace and stay safe and stay blessed and keep your distance.